Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone. We are so thrilled to have you here. So it's fun seeing all of you guys just kind of join in. We're getting close to 50 people here. So campus living and learning is always an exciting session for students to join. So without further ado, I'll just introduce myself and then we'll get started. My name is Clarissa Talley. I'm the Transfer Admissions Coordinator here at Baylor University, and it is my job and my joy to help students like yourself kind of find your way to Baylor. And so I love getting to take part in events like this, like Premiere, even if it's virtual, just because we get to join with y'all from all different corners of the world that you're in. And so today we're going to be learning more about campus living and learning. And so without further ado, I'll introduce you to Rachel Caldwell, and she'll get to jump in and dive in to share more about housing at Baylor.
Yes, hello everyone, good morning. Like Clarissa said, my name is Rachel. I'm the coordinator for student outreach here at Baylor University, and I work in the Department of Campus Living and Learning. And so today we're really excited to get to talk to y'all about experiencing on-campus community here at Baylor and really getting to understand what does it mean to live in an authentic Christian community. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so when it comes to defining actually what authentic Christian community is, I don't think I could define it better than one of our assistant residence hall directors did. Her name is Courtney Street. Courtney said an authentic Christian community is a place where an intentional atmosphere of love, acceptance, accountability, and willingness to understand are facilitated and maintained by a fellowship of individuals who value the unique strengths each member brings to the collective whole. It is ministry through presence, patience, openness, and has the power to positively transform lives. So if anything that you get out of this presentation, I really hope it's that you understand that we here at Campus Living and Learning really want to support you while you're living on campus so that you're better able to thrive and become the individual that you're meant to be. So we're going to go ahead and jump into kind of discovering our on-campus communities. And I'm really structuring this presentation essentially to answer the question, how do I choose where to live on campus? That's generally speaking the number one question I get asked by prospective students. So I'm going to just go ahead and walk y'all through essentially the community options that we have available to us. And then also explain to you a little bit about the amenities, that we have here on campus that may kind of help determine where you would like to live. So regardless of where you live on campus, you really will get a very holistic experience with a lot of really great connectedness and support, whether that's from faculty and staff or even just from your peers. We really set up a lot of community program that focuses on relationships. So in that sense, we really try to help you build a community on campus so that you're better able to, like I said, thrive while you're here at Baylor. You also have a lot of unprecedented access to faculty. There's a lot of faculty interaction going on campus. I have to say, as a student who went to Baylor, to tell you a little bit more about myself, I did attend Baylor. I was a first generation college student, so I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I came to Baylor, no idea what I wanted to study or anything like that. So my faculty interaction that I had on campus when I lived here was vital in determining what I wanted to do and how I got there. So really great interactions that you'll be able to have on campus, regardless of where you live. Another thing about where you live on campus is that, like I said, that faculty interaction is vital. So regardless of where you're at, you're going to get to interact with at least individuals in these 4 positions here. So we have our residence hall directors. Those individuals wear a lot of different hats. I refer to them as both the hall mom or the hall dad and the building manager, just because they really function in both ways. So whether that's logistically speaking, making sure everyone has their specific set of furniture, making sure that moving goes well, or helping to manage the end hall student staff, different things like that, or even relationally, say, helping resolve a roommate disagreement, anything like that, or planning a moving night in the lobby, different things like that go on with our residence hall directors. Next up, we have our faculty in residence. These are actual professors that are attached to specific departments here at Baylor University. So they're working professors doing research and teaching and different things like that. And they live alongside you within the residence halls as well. So they can help out with some of that programming that happens within the hall, whether that's helping teach a common cohort class or volunteering in the community, different things like that, or even, like I said, movie night in the lobby, different things like that. We also have our resident chaplains. These individuals are current truant seminary students. So while they're not necessarily professional therapists, so to speak, they are there to provide a pastoral presence within the residence halls. So whether that looks like praying over you before a big test or maybe grabbing coffee to work through some homesickness issues, they're there for that. And they really want to make sure, like I said, that you thrive on campus. Finally, we have our community leaders or our CLs. Our CLs are actual student employees. So they're very similar to that traditional RA role that you associate with most colleges. But because Baylor is a private Christian institution, these students get to walk alongside you not only academically or relationally, but also spiritually, which we think is a great added bonus. I also mentioned the CLs as well because it is an on-campus student employment opportunity. So students are able to start applying for the community leader position beginning in the fall of their freshman year. And it's an employment opportunity where you get to live where you work and you could have that job all throughout your college career. So it's a really great opportunity. But also just to mention that Baylor does have a lot of on-campus student employment opportunities as well, should you need to take advantage of that. So some on-campus quick facts just to kind of orient you to what it's going to be like living on campus. You're going to be joining all of your fellow first-year students. We have a one-year residency requirement for all of our students, but that certainly doesn't mean that you only have to stay on campus for your first year. You can certainly stay on campus for longer than that. We do have students that choose to stay with us. We generally speaking, about 1,000 to 1,500 upperclassmen are staying on campus with us, and they choose to take advantage of some of our awesome community programs that we have available to us. Speaking of community programs, we generally speaking have a community program assigned to each individual building here at Baylor University. So we have 18 different residence halls across campus. And so those are all going to be spread out and those programs kind of vary. We'll get a little bit more into those in just a second. And then we also have 16 different room types here on campus. So those are also spread out by type essentially, or by style within a specific residence hall. But like I said, we'll get more into the amenities later on in this presentation as well. Now, when it comes to actually finding your community fit, this is kind of where I start getting more in depth on those programs. So like I said, each of our buildings, generally speaking, has a very specific program. So we've got our living learning centers. These are a one-year residency requirement. So it's a one-year contract, and they're a program centered around specific academic or extracurricular units. Really great option. We have our residential colleges. These are community programs that are actually a 2-year commitment, so it's a little bit longer on campus, but really great program as well. That's actually the one that I lived in, so I really adored those programs. And then finally, we have our first year experience, which is going to be a little bit more of a general program. It's a 1-year commitment and it's a non-renewable lease. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at your different programs. So a little bit more in depth on those program types. So within our living learning centers, we have about 6 or 7 different living learning centers at this point, and they're all centered around specific academic or extracurricular interests. So those units are actually partnered with specific departments here on Baylor's campus, and that's where those faculty and residents come in, where there are specific professors from those departments that come and live alongside and help out with that programming within the residence halls. So whether that is teaching the common cohort class or maybe making connections with other professors within within that specific department and helping students kind of make those connections and network in that way, anything like that, it really happens within these living learning centers. It's also a great place to live, really, if you're just looking to form a community of individuals with similar interests or even just similar mindsets or working attitudes, different things like that. For instance, some of these programs do have different requirements. For the Science and Health LLC does require that you be a hard science major, whereas the Fine Arts LLC really just requires that you have that interest and that goal in mind of that creative outlook. So for instance, I had a friend actually who was an engineering major, but he really enjoyed making short films and skits for YouTube in his free time. So we actually decided to live in the Fine Arts LLC and really got along with a lot of the film and digital media majors in there. So he really loved that program. And that's just kind of a little fun anecdote about the programs, but they're really great and give you awesome access to the professors within those departments and different things like that. So awesome programs. Next up, we have our residential colleges. Like I said, these are a little bit more near and dear to my heart just because I lived in Brooks Residential College. So I love the residential colleges programs. These are a 2-year commitment because they're more designed off of that Oxford, Cambridge style living area. So highly focused on involvement, especially from upperclassmen and faculty and staff. So you really get that close access to faculty and staff from various departments within these residence halls. I also really loved it because as a first generation college student, I had, like I said, no idea what I was doing. doing or what I wanted to study or anything like that. So I really liked having access to upperclassmen who were kind of a little bit farther into their degree program and knew what they were studying. So I could kind of figure out what they were doing and see if I liked that or anything, and just kind of know my lay of the land here at Baylor a little bit better. So really love the residential college programs. They're awesome. And another thing I will say that made the residential college programs really great as well is just that it really reduced the amount of stress I had my freshman year. Students at Baylor University start looking for housing really in the middle of the fall semester. And that was just not a stress that I really wanted to have as a first year student here at Baylor. So that's just something to keep in mind as well, if depending on where you're wanting to live or what you're wanting to do during your time here at Baylor. And then finally, we have our traditional first year experience. This program spans over these different halls here. So we have our Texana, University House, Martin, Coconut, and Penland. So whenever you preference this specific program, you would actually be able to select from these various different residence halls to live in. These are our more traditional programs, like I said. So the majority of these feature community style living areas, which is essentially that most traditional style that you think of. If you think of any college that you've seen in a movie, essentially this is what that is. So this programming is really focused on making connections and forming community within the residence halls, but also within campus in general. So it's a great place to live if you're looking to get to know Baylor traditions, but also get really plugged in with an active community. Also really great access to diversity within these residence halls. They're not specific for academic major or anything like that. So great place to live if you're looking to get to know a diverse community. As for floor plan layouts, like I said, we got a little bit more into these amenities now. We do have 16 different room styles here on Baylor's campus, but I've dwindled them down into these four different styles, essentially for a few different reasons. First of all, each of our buildings generally has a specific style. So for instance, Penland Residence Hall only has the community style living area. So while there's a couple of different room types within that community style, they're all going to be community bath style. So if you really wanted that semi-private bathroom, you wouldn't want to live in Penland Residence Hall kind of thing. Another reason I did that is because as we add on amenities, we actually go up in price. So community style is our cheapest and our most traditional. And then as you go up in amenities, you also go up in price as you move over on the right of that screen there. But regardless of where you choose to live or anything like that, all students are going to be guaranteed a standard set of furniture from Baylor. So every student is going to be given a bed, desk, chair, drawer space, as well as closet space, and a set of drawers. And then you also get ample amount of outlets. On our website, if you actually go to the room details page, and that page is going to be under our housing info tab, you'll actually be able to see a breakdown of our residence halls, and it'll actually give you some measurements of that. And it'll go in as you go through there, it'll tell you what the floor type is, different things like that, but it'll also tell you whether or not your bed automatically comes lofted. So that's something to keep in mind as well, as if you're interested in having a lofted bed, or if you're interested in renting a loft, if your bed doesn't already come lofted, feel free to check that out on that page. And if you need to rent a loft as well, I encourage you to take a look at our third-party vendors that's linked onto our website. Now, when it comes to actually applying for on-campus housing, I'm going to go ahead and walk y'all through the housing application process. So some important dates for y'all to know is, first, our housing application opened on March 1st, which means you are able to go in and start your application and submit it now. The next date that we really want you to be aware of, and kind of the most important date really, is May 1st. May 1st is by no means a hard deadline, but it is a deadline in the sense that that's when we want you to submit your housing application in order to be able to participate in roommate matching and choose your own room. I will say about 97% of our students get their housing applications submitted by May 1st. So it's a really easy process for y'all to do, and I'll be able to walk y'all through that a little bit more now. So when it comes to starting your housing application, first and foremost, y'all, if you want to live at Baylor, you must attend Baylor. I know, shocking, but the way you go about doing this is you simply just have to log into your Go Baylor account, accept the status of your admission, and then submit your non-refundable enrollment deposit. And that's just an enrollment deposit to say that you're committed to going to Baylor. It's not a housing deposit or anything like that. So just that commitment to going to Baylor. Next, you would set up your Duo Access account. That's a two-factor authentication service we use here at Baylor. It just verifies your identity anytime you try to access a Baylor-sensitive website that contains any of your personal information, grades, different things like that. And then finally, what we really encourage y'all to do is research what community programs you'd like to be a part of. Once you've done that, we then encourage y'all to go ahead and access your My Housing portal to begin your housing application. So you can access that housing application either through your Go Baylor account or through your My Housing portal, which is on our website. So if you go to baylor.edu/CLL, you'll actually be able to access that. That's how I recommend students just start accessing it instead of using their Go Baylor account, just because once you get to Baylor, once you start living on campus, you'll start using, that's the way that you'll get to the account. You really don't use your Go Baylor account after you've gone through that like admission process. So like I said, once you access your My Housing portal, then you'll be able to start your actual housing application. So essentially what you're going to do is select your top 4 communities, and you're going to rank them in order of 1 through 4 and tell us why you would want to live there. And that ranking order is really important. 94% of our students get their top first or second choice within their residence halls ranking or their community program rankings. So it's a really great option for y'all, and it gives you a lot of autonomy to choose where you want to live on campus. After that, you would complete a lifestyle matching profile, and that's really the bulk part of the housing application that we really want you to get in by May 1st. Once you submit that bulk part by May 1st, within the first week of May, you'll actually receive your approved community. And once you've received your approved community, you'll then be able to participate in roommate matching and choose your own room. All right, so a little bit more in depth. First of all, about those lifestyle questions. These questions are really important for you, the student, to answer, not your parents, just because it is a little bit of a personal kind of questionnaire, and it's by no means like a judgmental thing. It's really just asking about the way that you live, because studies have shown that individuals who have similar lifestyle habits or living styles actually have less conflict. So we're wanting to reduce as much conflict as possible so that y'all have as seamless of a freshman year as you possibly can. So with these lifestyle questions, we're going to ask you things like, how often do you clean? What time do you like to go to bed? Do you study with music on? Do you like your room hot or cold? Different things like that. So we can better get to know you. And then once you receive your approved community, we'll actually take your answers from these questions, and we're going to match you with the top 50 candidates that we think you would be most compatible with as a roommate based on your answers. So the way that we do that is it's honestly very similar to like online dating. So we're going to show you a percentage on the right that is based on your answers. So you could be a 94% match with someone, or like quite literally a 0% match with somebody. And then we also give you a profile that you can fill out. It's like a little, I honestly think of it like a social media bio in a sense. So it's a little limited in space, but it gives you a little quick area to be able to let people get to know you a little bit better. So I recommend like just putting a quick info about yourself, but also like throw your social media handles in there, different things like that. So you can get in contact with people and get to know your community, and also find your perfect roommate match. Another thing that you can do within the roommate matching process is if you get assigned to the same approved community as someone that you would like to be a roommate with, you can search each other in this roommate matching process by using your Baylor ID numbers. Now, one thing to note here is that you do have to be in the same approved community to be a roommate with someone. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to live in the same room with someone if they were approved to a different building. So that's just one thing to note, and one thing to keep in mind as you're going through this process is that there's no way to necessarily guarantee that you have a specific roommate until after you receive your approved community. Next up, you'll be able to go through your choose your own room process. So essentially what that looks like is every student will be assigned a time. It is randomized. It's just our system gives every student a specific time that's random, like I said. Sometime in early June to be able to go in there and actually choose your own room within your approved community. Essentially, if you've ever shopped on Amazon, you are trained to do this. All you have to do is scroll through. We'll show you all of the available units as well as the available spaces in that unit. And that's really something important to make sure that you note is the available spaces within that unit. This is particularly important because once you and your roommate are matched, you're actually linked in our system. So if you, for instance, receive a time earlier than your roommate, you would actually be able to go in through the choose your own room process, select a room that has the same available spaces as in your roommate match, and it would automatically pull in your roommate into that space if they have a later time. So that's a really convenient aspect of our roommate matching process, and just a really easy thing for you to go through to give you, like I said, a little bit more autonomy to choose how you live on campus. But regardless of where you end up living or who you end up living with, all students can check the status of their assignments, their approvals and matches, different things like that through their My Housing portal. And like I said, you can get to that through our website at baylor.edu/CLL. The My Housing portal is also just something to be really familiar with as well, because that's where you'll be able to submit work orders, inspection forms, different things like that. All right. So I know I kind of sped through this presentation a little bit, but it's really because I wanted to be able to get to a Q&A for us.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. You did cover so much information, but it was so helpful and like it's so clear. So students, I hope that was helpful. We've got about 5 minutes left in our session. So there were a few questions that came in through the Q&A. So we'll go through those. If you have any questions right now, feel free to put that in the Q&A, not the chat. Just put them there and we'll try to speed through them. So one person asked, Rachel, how do the residential colleges work if the student wants to study abroad their second year?
Yeah, so generally speaking, our study abroad programs are normally just about a semester. So that means that they would be gone for either a spring semester or a fall semester. And it's definitely possible for you to be able to do that. I'm not necessarily the individual who deals with the contracts, but I do know that we work with our students on an individual basis. So if they are studying abroad for a semester, it's definitely possible, and they do not get penalized for studying abroad during that contract.
That's so helpful. Thank you. Another person asked, if you don't like the energy of the house you choose at first or the hall you choose, can you change it or is it permanent?
So that's a really great question. So first, I want to say that if you're starting your house, that's why we encourage you to do a lot of research in the beginning part, is to really try to get to know the energy of the hall. We give on our website, we do have contact information for program directors and different things like that. And we also really encourage y'all to get involved on the social media and try to follow the programs you're interested in and different things like that, so you can kind of get to know them. During the housing application process as well, as long as it is before May 1st, you can actually go into your actual application and change your ranks of your specific programs that you're preferencing as well. So if you decide at the beginning of March, you want to preference one specific living learning center, and then at the end of March, you're like, nah, not really. You can change those within there. At the end of April, I guess March is over. Time flies, y'all. But so you can change those preferences there. In regards to when you get on campus, we really try to encourage our students to get to spend time getting to know the program and stuff. Generally speaking, we don't have students necessarily enter the hall and then immediately say, nope, the energy's bad, or the energy's off, I'm leaving, kind of thing. So one thing we really try to do is encourage our students not only to get to know Baylor, but to get to know the community and the program itself. At the end of the day, though, if you're asking if the student ends up becoming absolutely miserable and just is not vibing with their program or with their hall or anything like that, we do not want our students being miserable on campus. So there are options available for students, but like I said, we work with them on a one-on-one basis for any time a student needs to alter their contract or anything like that. So we'll be able to do that.
That's so helpful. So there's a couple questions that I think are perfect because you and I are the best people to ask about this. But a couple of students are asking about the possibility of getting housing as a transfer.
Okay, that's a great question. So at this point, we cannot guarantee housing for any of our upperclassmen or our transfer students. And that's due in part because of our construction schedule, in the sense that we do have Collins Hall, which is one of our largest residence halls that housed over 600 of our female first year students, is going under construction this next year. So we're having to mitigate that construction loss by spreading those students out across various residence halls on campus. So we automatically have less spaces, so to speak, in university parks. Because of that, it's also another thing is that we do have some of the most unprecedented class sizes. That sounds silly to say because we say it every year, but truly we had about 4,000 students come in. I think it ended up being a little bit more like 3,900 students come and stay on, first year students alone come to stay on campus with us this year, which was the largest incoming class Baylor's ever had. So we've had to kind of, like I said, mitigate that incoming class size in that sense, but we do encourage our students to still try to submit a housing application if they want to live on campus. So they can still just go through that process and submit that housing application. They can still preference University Parks apartments as one of their preferences and different things like that. We just can't guarantee that necessarily that they would be given a spot in that sense. We also, though, do encourage students, transfer students especially. That's not necessarily to say we don't have resources for y'all. Baylor does have resources for off-campus housing options. And then within just like on social media as well, I'd also recommend getting on to a couple of the Baylor Facebook pages, for instance, like Baylor Free and For Sale, different things like that. They always have deals going on with students who are subletting apartments, different things like that, that kind of make it an easier process to kind of transition onto Baylor's campus into being a Baylor student as a transfer.
Awesome. We might have time for one more real quick. I'm just gonna like answer like 5 of the questions at once, because there's a lot of people asking like, how do we know which dorms are split gender? They're all girl and guy. How do we see the rooms? So actually in the chat, I put a lot of links as Rachel was talking about different rooms and everything. And so please hop in the chat before we end in about 60 seconds and click on the 3 links that I included. That'll show the rooms and race page, the room details page, and it'll go into detail about the gender of each hall, as well as like specific measurements and all that kind of stuff about each hall. So please use those links in the chat. And then let's see, I'll give you one more question, Rachel. This is a good one. How would you describe your campus experience?
How would I describe my campus experience? I'd say transformational. That sounds so silly, but I am Cherokee and I am a first generation college student. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I didn't know, it felt like I was baptism by fire kind of thing. So it really, really just like enabled me to like, I'd say education is the biggest liberator, and it's not just education within the classroom, it's education of like outside of it, of like like development skills and different things like that. So I really just like, it allowed me to thrive. So it was really, really great. So I adored it.
Love that. Love that so much. So I know we couldn't get to every question, and with over 100 students here, there's probably lots of even unasked questions. So again, please, we're going to be shutting this down in just a couple of seconds. So go to the chat, use the links there. Of course, there's this Q&A page, the questions and contact info up right now. So please take advantage of all the friendly people in campus living and learning and ask them any questions that you'll have. Rachel and I will be here in this session doing this again at 11 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So if you had more questions or just want to soak it all in again, feel free to join us. But otherwise, we hope you have an amazing rest of your premiere experience. We're so grateful y'all joined us.
Again.
Have a great day. Bye.